Welcome back. This is Luca, and today we're going to talk about this little, not so little lens that you see over here, the Fuji 70 to 300 millimeters f4 to 5.6. To me, this has been a long-awaited lens because I always felt I was an owner of the 55 to 200, and I always felt that there was a gap between that and the 100 to 400 for those who wanted something more, but without the bulk and the weight of the 100 to 400 and the cost of the 100 to 400. So to me, I've been waiting for this lens for a long time, and finally I have it in my hands. I'm gonna share with you now my first impressions on this. I just shot with it a couple of days, no more than that, few occasions. Nothing special, so it wouldn't be wise to call this a review. So it's gonna be just my first impressions, but I think I can tell you a little bit of things. Let's just start with the technical part of this lens. It is, as I said, the 700 to 300 millimeters f4 to f5.6. It's weather sealed. It's got the stabilizer. It's got the aperture ring, and it's compatible with the teleconverters from Fujifilm, which is a nice addition. Even though, mind you, that with the 1.4 teleconverter, you're gonna get to 420 millimeters f8. And with the 2 times converter, you're going to get to a 600 millimeters, therefore 900 millimeters equivalent f11. So they're compatible. It's compatible, but with some limitation, of course. Even though I would like to try it, but I don't have them, and I will try to find some just for the sake of trying them. Even though I don't think it's going to be my main focus on this lens. Anyways, moving forward with the technical specification of this lens. The lens weighs, I can say, only 580 grams. And what else? It's got the filter diameter of 67 millimeters. And I guess it's pretty much it. One thing is, it focuses really close. It focuses as approximately 80 centimeters from the sensor. And considering that it does it even at 300 millimeters, the magnification ratio is pretty impressive. You're seeing it right now. It's kind of pleasing to be able to get very close even with such a long lens. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the lens. A few things that are worth being mentioned. They came up with a design that is a little bit different from, let's say, its little brother, the 55 to 200, which we're going to compare in just a bit. They came up with this lock over here that you see over here. This lock prevents the zoom from creeping, which was an issue that I had with the 55 to 200. This just prevents, you put it at 70 millimeters, and it prevents the zoom from slowly falling down, let's just say, as you walk. And the good thing about this, not funny, the good thing about this is that you don't have to think about it when you have to use the zoom. You just zoom, you're gonna hear this, just a little click, and the zoom is gonna work. As you can see, when you zoom, it extends quite a bit, but it's something, I mean, it's to be expected. It would be impossible to have an internal zoom on a 70 to 300 this size. Another thing that they did, which is fairly common in all the Fujifilm lenses with a variable aperture and the aperture ring, they have this little switch over here, which allows you to go from automatic aperture or manual aperture, because there's nothing engraved in the ring, in the aperture ring, to tell you what aperture you're in. You gotta look at the viewfinder because it's a variable aperture. That's how Fuji does with all the variable aperture lenses, even though it could be done differently, but again, not a big deal. One last thing that they did, and this is really important, is that they also added a focus limiter. With this switch over here that you see, you can limit the switch to just focus on faraway objects from 5 meters on, or to the full range. Now, considering that the full range is very wide because this focus is very close, this means that limiting the range to just faraway objects is going to help the focusing speed quite a lot. Even though I must say that the lens in general felt super snappy, both on the XE4 and then the XT4 and then the XT3. It feels super snappy. It's very fast, it's very accurate, I would say, and it's not, I mean, it's not super silent, but it's silent enough. So the autofocus is already good. By helping yourself with this limiter, it's gonna go better if you're focusing on a distant subject. So that's a nice addition. One thing that it's missing, and I keep saying that for almost every lens that is coming up now, they got rid of the switch for the OIS. You cannot turn it off via a switch on the lens like you could on the 55-200. And this sucks. To me, I hate this choice. I get it. They think that the new lenses are smart enough to prevent you from being forced to think about switching them when you're on a tripod, but I would like to have the option. So I always end up assigning a function button to that menu voice for like turning the stabilizer off. Not a big deal on an XT4 and an XT3 because they're full of buttons, but on the next E4, well, that's a whole different story. It's kind of annoying. Anyways, it is what it is. Speaking of the 55-200, I have it here, and you can see that the size between the two, it's pretty much similar. There's 1 centimeter, no more than that. It's 1 centimeter taller, the 70-300, and the diameter it's 67 on the 70-300 and 62 on the 55-200. So it would look like as if the 70-300 is a little bit fatter, but actually the dimension is the same. It's just the filter that is a little bit different. And the weight is the same, 580 grams for both. That's a great thing. That means that by replacing your 55-200 with the 70-300, you're only carrying a little bit more dimension, but the same weight. And for something that goes 100 millimeters more and it's capable of receiving the telecom converter, it's a great thing. I mean, it's a really great thing. Now, you might say, hey, yeah, sure, but the 55-200 is a 3.5 to 4.8, while the 70-300 is f4 to 5.6. And you would be right, but the 70-300 at 200 millimeters is at f5. So at the end of the day, the difference is pretty much negligible because from f4.8 to f5, it's pretty much the same aperture. So it's not going to make a lot of a difference. And based on my very first shots, and I mean very first, I remember that the 55-200 dropped a little bit of quality from 150 millimeters going to the telephoto ends. Even though I love that lens, I always consider that lens to be spectacular for the price, the size, and the weight. But the 70-200 seems to be sharp even at the telephoto end, which is not that usual. You're seeing a picture right now. I mean, the subject is very far away. This is not a good picture per se, but you can say that even with the magnification on 100%, the bird and which is the subject of the shot is still very sharp, and this is something that I really love about this lens. It's first impressions. Again, I will have to test it, and I will also have to test the stabilizer, which seems to be really effective, but I haven't tested it too much. So I'm gonna get back on all of this once I'm gonna get you guys my review. But my first impressions are really positive. One thing that I forgot to mention is that, of course, I didn't unbox the lens because the lens comes with the lens, the hood, and the pouch, which is typical for all the Fuji lenses. So that's why you didn't see any unboxing. The lens comes with a hood, which is pretty big. You see it. And like pretty much almost all the hoods, you can flip it backwards. But what happens is that you don't have that much room to zoom. So whenever it's flipped backwards, you just, it's fiddly trying to zoom. So at the end of the day, I'm not a big hood guy. I will always leave it home. I just took it out of the plastic for you guys for this first impressions video, but then it's gonna get back to where it belongs, meaning to the plastic and to the lens box. What else? I think. Oh yeah, the lens does the thing that almost all the Fujifilm zoom do. It's not a parfocal, so whenever you zoom, you lose the focus. And being a long telephoto lens, this means that sensation is even more amplified. You kind of lose focus at all. You basically go to sometimes not seeing anything. Which is sucks, especially for video if you want to zoom while you're recording. The good thing though is that it seems like there's almost no focus breathing, which is really good. I mean, that's something that that I really appreciate. I guess I told you pretty much everything for my first impressions. Again, I don't want to go too long. And so stick around my channel, guys. I have a lot of video planned for the future. I have the review for this lens, I have the XE4, the review, its video capabilities, I have the Laowa 9mm f2.8, I have the Fuji X-T4 that I just bought. So there's a lot of content that is coming down the road. So make sure you subscribe, you activate the bell, and leave me a comment. Let me know what do you think about this lens. Let me know if it's something you were looking forward to. Let me know if you don't think you're gonna buy it. In my opinion, this lens is perfect match for the 60 to 80 millimeters because like they're built pretty much the same way. They're both weather sealed. They're both relatively lightweight and compact. They match perfectly, while the 55 to 200 fits perfectly with the 18 to 55. Let's just say that. And I don't think necessarily that the 70 to 200 replaces the 55 to 200. You may not need the extra reach, and you'll be fine with the 55 to 200. So I think it's nice that we have this addition, and I hope it's gonna turn out at the end. It's gonna turn out as good as it seems from my very first impressions. I guess for today that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.